Welcome to my channel. My name is Appelusa. I am a holistic bioenergetic practitioner and owner of Light Body Energetics. This is a new series on my channel called The Science of Self-Healing, and this is the intro video. Before I get started, if you'd like to get on my email list for infrequent emails and free offerings, check out lightbodyenergetics.com, or you can go to my Instagram, check out my link tree and find the email list there as well. And don't forget to subscribe. If you do like this video, you can also hit the bell and then you'll be notified of all the videos in this series when they come out. So I'm going to be discussing the science of self-healing and useful techniques to ignite the healer within. I created this series as part of my senior project at MIU, Maharishi International University, inspired by my own healing journey for the last 7 years, healing from 2 major health crises, and now I'm on the quest for knowledge and I'm sharing what I learn with you. Since I'll be using scientific research to back up my claims, all of the research will be cited in the references in the description below this video. Although you can watch the videos in this series out of order, I highly recommend you watch them or practice them in order for the greatest benefit. So if you want to keep watching this video but you just don't have the time, you can also tag it and save it to watch later. You can watch this series in the car, or you can listen to it in the car and then watch it at home, because I do have images and diagrams and all sorts of supporting evidence to look at to help understand what I'm talking about. To begin, I want to discuss the most informative and important topics which informed my project: physics, Ayurveda, and of course, consciousness. Now, before I begin, physics is a big topic, and it's a simple course I took. It's a course I took at MIU, and I'm going to try to condense that into understandable terms. I'm going to try. So this course changed my perspective on everything. Realize this is a discussion of my reflection, of my worldview, my paradigm, through the lens of Vedic science combined with modern unified field theory, which is an advancement of quantum field theory. This will be an intense video chock full of sciencey verbiage and mind-warping information, but if I can comprehend it, I believe you can too. Try and stick with me. It lays the foundation for the rest of the series. First, we need to understand that there are 3 paradigms or worldviews associated with physics. Classical physics, or Newtonian physics, is a macroscopic world of objects and the forces that hold them together and make them move. For instance, electromagnetism is responsible for holding electrons to the nucleus of an atom. I will discuss fields more as we go on. This is the world that was studied and understood before science probed even deeper. Because when you go deeper or into smaller scales in physics, you have a world that operates with different laws of nature. The next paradigm or worldview is quantum mechanics, which describes the behavior of nature at molecular and atomic levels. What is happening when we look at atoms and molecules and how they behave? What do we find? Experiments showed that what we know as particles or electrons are actually vibrating clouds that surround the nucleus of an atom. This is what people are talking about when they say that everything vibrates. But more interestingly, when you try and measure a particle in a lab, it behaves as a particle or a wave, depending on how you observe it. This is called the observer effect. Before observation, there's only fluctuating possibilities. Until observed, the wave function is spread out, not in a particular location. And once observed, the wave function collapses into a single point, a point particle. Physicist Nick Herbert remarks, "In its mathematical representation, an unobserved atom is everywhere and nowhere at the same time." Thus, it is our consciousness which plays a role in how our reality is structured. Quantum field theory probed even deeper or into smaller scales of nature and describes nature at the nuclear and subnuclear levels. There are 4 fundamental forces of nature responsible for particle interaction at the nuclear scale: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong or nuclear force, and the weak or radioactive force. It describes forces as invisible fields that act upon particles which make up matter, or what we perceive as matter. When you probe deep enough or quantum enough, what you find is matter is not at all how we perceive it with our senses. Our brains essentially create the world we experience by computation. But science determined how reality functions. Everything in the universe is ultimately made up of invisible fields. We're still going deeper, we're not there yet. The next worldview, the current unified field theory, describes the behavior of nature at the smallest scale, the Planck scale. Also known as the superstring field, this theory unifies all the particles and forces into one unified field, capable of acting as any type of particle or force. Particles are discrete excitations of a quantum field that make up what we perceive as physical matter. Protons, neutrons, and electrons are particles, for instance. Dr. Hagelin, who received his PhD in physics from Harvard University, says, hence, all of creation, gross and subtle, material objects, and abstract forces are just different expressions of underlying quantum fields. This means that these fields of nature have energetic potential, and that energy can be measured as expressions of that field. Thus, matter is an expression of a quantum field. Albert Einstein wrote, "We may therefore regard matter as being constituted by the regions of space in which the field is extremely intense. There's no place in this new kind of physics for both the field and matter, for the field is the only reality." The unified field theory also postulates that there's a field of consciousness that unites all of humanity. This becomes more tangible when you research field effects, such as the Maharishi effect or HeartMath's Global Coherence Project, both of which use meditation as a tool to connect with one's own consciousness and the field of consciousness as a whole. A field effect is when consciousness influences the fields which unify us all. And yes, this has been studied for decades, hundreds of times, and published in peer-reviewed scientific publications. I'm just ushering you down a deep rabbit hole, but let's continue with the topic at hand. So what is a field? More specifically, a unified field or a field of all possibilities, which you may have heard before. The vacuum state in space is a state of least excitation of a quantum field, a state of no particles. The vacuum state, according to modern physics, is devoid of energy at all. It is a field of all possible shapes coexisting at the same time. A single cubic centimeter of empty space contains more energy than all the matter in the universe. In inflationary universe theory, a fluctuation in the vacuum state expanded into our universe. About 300,000 years after the Big Bang, atoms formed, and eventually stars and galaxies, humans, and the complex nervous system of humans. Essentially, humans emerged from the unified field and are inextricably tied to it. By understanding the connection we have to nature, the universe, and our planet's rhythms, we can begin to self-heal. So just imagine for a moment that our universe came to be from an impulse or awakening in the vacuum state. The vacuum state is also known as the unified field. The unified field theory is a theory of everything, a quantum field theory that describes all particles and forces as excitations of a single field. So there's similarities of the field of consciousness and the unified field, which is why Vedic science and modern physics believe they're one in the same. Ayurveda, translated as the science of life in Sanskrit, has known this for thousands of years. It's only now that modern physics is catching up with this ancient wisdom with scientific research studies. The Vedas represent the oldest tradition of knowledge in the world, created more than 5,000 years ago, and passed down verbally from generation to generation until written into text. According to the Vedas, matter is a secondary expression of a more fundamental field of life. The basis of the differentiated universe is a timeless, undifferentiated state of unified wholeness. He goes on to say that the Vedas are not books at all, but acoustic records or primordial sounds or vibrations of the unfoldment of the universe. Check out Dr. Tony Nader's work on the unfoldment of the human physiology from the sounds of the Vedas. The unified field and the field of consciousness have overlapping characteristics. They are intelligent, self-referral, or aware of itself being aware, and self-interacting. The body has self-organizing, self-regenerative, and self-reproducing capabilities, which makes it intelligent. This is confirmed by the placebo effect, which according to Dr. Sharma, pain, cough, hay fever, mood changes, angina pectoris, migraine headaches, seasickness, anxiety, dermatitis, rheumatoid arthritis, peptic ulcers, allergies, acne, MS, diabetes, and depression have been shown to improve with placebo intervention alone. As many as 60 to 70% of patients given nothing but placebo improve. Dr. Bruce Lipton calls it the power of belief. And Dr. Sharma says a stable state of knowing is the crucial factor that triggers physiological response. Conversely, the nocebo effect can trigger unfavorable physiological changes because when you believe you're taking something that's bad for you and is going to harm you, more than likely you end up getting sick. And what happens in spontaneous remissions? Dr. Sharma says doctors have reported instances of spontaneous remission in more than 3,500 papers, appearing in 830 different journals in 20 languages. There's a whole field of research, no pun intended, called psychoimmunology, which has been successful in identifying some of the pathways through which mental factors exert an influence on the body. And that is a big subject, and I must digress. The thing is, this abstract quantum world is rather complex and unbelievable because we have been conditioned since childhood to believe in the classical paradigm or worldview. But when we start to open our perspective and accept a whole in which everything is connected, consciousness is all there is, and everything we know is a vibrating expression or wave or field or loop or string, our universe starts to make more sense. Actually, it took me a whole university education at MIU and physics and consciousness course by Dr. Hagelin to even start to grasp this universe, but it was so worth it. What I'm getting at is consciousness is the self-healing mechanism because it is a field which is intelligent and self-referral and self-interacting. We just seem to forget how to use it, to believe in it for our well-being. I know this is a lot, but hopefully some of it made sense or caught your interest to dive deeper. And next I'm going to give a small intro to Ayurveda, and then we'll begin with the first technique, grounding, otherwise known as earthing. Ayurveda, the science of life, can be translated as knowledge of lifespan. It's one of the oldest healthcare systems and still India's main system of medicine today. It is a Vedic system of healing which uses the natural world as a basis for understanding the human physiology. It's a system of prevention of disease, but also works as a system for healing and balancing. It works on many levels of the body: emotional, mental, physical, and environmental, addressing imbalances in the mind and body through lifestyle changes, recognizing and balancing the doshas, food preparation guidelines, education, yoga, and meditation. The digestive system plays the main role in imbalance, and pulse reading is the technique for assessing imbalances in the digestive system. Ayurveda teaches that the universe is made up of 5 elements: air, fire, water, earth, and ether. These elements, or Mahabhutas, are the building blocks of all of nature, the universe, and the human body. When all of the body's systems are balanced, the environment and mental and emotional health, the individual is balanced. Ayurveda teaches that the body is made up of a combination of the 5 elements, and each individual is unique in their constitution or dosha. Doshas are responsible for the biological and psychological functions of the body. They are known as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Using pulse reading, a practitioner can assess an individual's dosha type, imbalances in the mind and body, imbalances in the digestive fire or Agni, and undigested food or indigestion level called Ama. After the assessment, recommendations would be made to help balance the doshas. As is the macrocosm, so is the microcosm. We are an expression of the universe. We are made up of the same fundamental building blocks of nature. So how do we go out of balance? Understanding that we are inextricably tied to nature is the first step to maintain balance and wholeness. The sun, our power source, has a direct relationship to our digestive system, which is strongest midday when the sun is highest. Our biological clock, the circadian rhythm, is tied to the sun's rhythms as well. The moon, with its magnetic pull on the earth, has an influence on us. The solar winds or geomagnetic activity has an effect on our nervous system activity. Everything in nature is cycles and rhythms, and when we get out of sync with them, we lose homeostasis. Ayurveda has a term for the root of disease. It's called pragya aparad in Sanskrit. I go into this in a later video because it's an important but also a complex idea to wrap your head around. It translates as the mistake of the intellect. It's a process of forgetting the essential nature of the individual self or consciousness. When you become object referral instead of self-referral, when you believe that the objective, physical, material world brings happiness, which results in the disconnection to the memory of our own essential nature. When our perception becomes absorbed with the seemingly physical world, pragya aparad, or mistake of the intellect, results in disease. When we identify with the ego self rather than the higher self, the field of consciousness which we all have access to when we transcend, a reconnection to the self-referral, self-organizing, self-regulating, restructuring, intelligent blueprint for life. I go into this more in the meditation video, but now let's begin with technique number 1, grounding, otherwise known as earthing. If you don't have time to watch it, go ahead and click on it and save it to watch later. My name is Appelusa. Please subscribe if you like this content. Hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. Follow me on IG at Light Body Energetics, and I'll see you on the next one.